It's time to butcher this transition. It's time to get into a review of Benny's Butchers, the plugs I met.
I know a lot of plugs.
I know a lot of plugs. I know so many plugs that it's too many to count on both hands.
It's too Benny to count. Benny the Butcher is a Buffalo MC and a member of West Side Gun's Griselda Records. You probably heard us talk about him 95 times on the channel before, because once we started reviewing West Side Gun's Supreme Blientele, I feel like the floodgates just opened, and we've talked about West Side and Benny and also Conway the Machine on here more times than I can count. I feel like we're just constantly talking about them. Benny is part of this kind of like 90s East Coast hardcore hip hop sound, and they are constantly putting out music. Conway, West Side, and Benny just have a huge just output. Anytime you turn around, I feel like there's a new project by one or two or all of them. Benny recently by himself put out Tana Talk in 2018, which had pretty good production and flow, but it was ultimately kind of forgettable, which I think is like, that kind of sucks, because I think that all three of these guys have talent.
Yeah.
It's just the huge output makes things forgettable.
Yeah.
Talking about like West Side Gun releasing Hitler Wears Hermes Volume 6. There's been 5 of them before that, and don't ask me to name a single song off of any of them, because I don't think that I could.
Well, they do have like some quality content on them.
Yeah, it's all quality. Like. It's just like I can't remember. I think that this is kind of the law of diminishing returns in action here. Their trio album is not out yet.
Yeah, it's not.
What would Machine Gun Do? Which we just found out that is not racist.
I thought it was like a slur.
I did too, and it just took me forever to like.
That's what it sounded like, at least.
That should be coming out later this year, and I'm really excited for it.
Their debut on Shady Records, which
means Eminem is gonna be there.
He's just gonna stand over in the corner and watch him like a Hulk. And once they make fun like a Hulk, and once they make fun of Revival, he's gonna just yell at them, and then get him off his front yard.
Amazing.
But the plugs I met, 7 songs in 24 minutes, and it's released on Benny the Butcher's own label, Black Soprano Family, and it features production from The Alchemist, Beat Butcher, Derringer, and DJ Shea, so the normal crew of producers, at least most of the normal crew with Alchemist and Derringer. So going over this, I wasn't super impressed with Tanya Talk, but I felt like Benny did have, I guess, quality flow and quality production from other producers on there, and I think for this he comes off as a lot more hungry for most of it, which is nice. And we're getting a lot more at least larger features: Black Flat of the Roots, Pusha T, Jadakiss, who's raspier than ever on this. Like
he's been smoking. He feels
congested. Like he feels like he's holding a lot of phlegm here in his chest, and I feel like someone needs to get him a Mucinex. But over this entire thing, I feel like Benny, again, is hungrier than ever. He seems almost venomous on the most part of this track. I think Crowd for Kings, he plays it a little bit too, he seems a little bit too normal. But after that, I think his verses on Sunday School, Dirty Harry, Took the Money to the Plug's House, and 18-wheeler, he's just completely fiery, and he seems unstoppable in his approach. I really like the verse from Black Fraud on Crowds for the Kings. I think that feature just makes a ton of sense. It feels like even weights being distributed.
Oh, yeah.
And it just seems like an equal equation being played out. Like when you see it on a board, it just makes sense. Same thing with Pusha on 18-wheeler. The kind of the villainous character that Benny puts on, it's equal to the drug dealing character that Pusha T is.
I'm completely fine with the whole drug dealer persona being put on here, because I think it makes tons of sense to be on a project like this.
Yeah, and it isn't for 20 tracks.
Yeah, it's not. It doesn't overstay its welcome.
And it also makes sense. The weird rotating keys on Sunday School, it just feels like the spiral of different distorted pianos.
That was a little annoying.
It is, but it's also interesting.
But it also was interesting.
You have the intro verse from Benny, which is completely seems like he's just trying to fight for the spot that he has. I also like, I think it's on this or Dirty Harry, the verse says, I'm not signed to Shady Records, I just look like I am, because he has a bunch of ice, which is interesting. Because I think it isn't really like a signing deal. It's more like, because like,
I think it's just a records deal, like just
Boogie,
a couple.
yeah, Boogie has the sign deal, I think. I think this upcoming record is just like it's through Griselda Records, so it's like a distribution deal, type something like that. But 38 Special, this is the first introduction I've ever had to him. He sounds like Danny Brown or like ODB. He just has a lot of twang to his voice. He's completely hitting his verse completely left field, and it's really interesting. Going back to Jadakiss, someone needs to get this guy on Mucinex. He's just raspier than ever. I like how these three verses lay out over this weird ass beat. Just three very distinctive verses being played out, and all of them just seem completely venomous. And I feel like I have to go get someone to suck on my wound, because now I'm going to die from venom.
Snake venom.
Dirty Harry with RJ Payne and Conway the Machine. RJ Payne has this very like clenched performance. It seems like he's trying to speak from like right here, and he's just holding his arms. It seems very forced, which is interesting. Like he's trying to be tougher than himself, which I like.
I felt RJ Payne to be kind of a fake character. It was a little like like you said, trying to be tougher than himself. Like when you're just like a little guy, you see this in like cartoons or movies, like you're just a little guy and you like stay on your tiptoes and try to act like bigger than you are. That's what I feel like RJ Payne is doing.
Yeah, I kind of like that character though.
I think it's a little annoying and a little fake, especially compared to Benny's first verse on here, as well as Conway's verse later on. I think is a lot of fun.
Yeah, the Conway and Benny have undoubted chemistry, and they just work
this was
out.
The obligatory feature. I was surprised that Westside himself wasn't on here.
Yeah, we get 5 to 50, which is interesting because it has this nice piano sample over some more like traditional trap production, and he actually kind of lays out it over well, because Conway's last project he tried to go over some trap beats and it didn't work out too well.
Yeah.
This fits. This feels like Benny's continuing to be himself. He's not trying to be something that isn't. It's just we get more modern production, or more hip production, as the youth would say. I also took the money to Plug's house. The vocals theme feel a little bit faded, which is interesting because it's not like an effect or anything. I think comparative to the keys and the drums, he's just a little bit lower, and they overturn him a little bit, which makes him seem like it almost kind of brings this like weird faded presence on the track, which is interesting because not any other track on the album has that feel, which is nice. I'm impressed with this album. I think he isn't doing anything new, and there isn't any huge ideas being presented on this project or a huge scope, but I think he does seem to amp up the stakes for the most part compared to Tanya Talk. I think this is a tight little 20-minute project that he shows his worth and shows that he is a force to be reckoned with. And that's kind of where I think all the members of Griselda Records right now, they're fighting for their spots, and I think they need to continue fighting their spots. I'm really looking forward to see what this trio record's going to be, what they're going to do together as a group, because I think they're better as a group than individually. They're like the Avengers.
I think it could be really good. I think that like some really standout moments on here, Crowns for Kings with Black Thought on here, I think was awesome. 18 Where with Pusha T. I wanted to see more of this track. It's the shortest track on here besides the intro skit, and I just found it to be immensely enjoyable. I just wanted to go on for a little longer. If I had to have one gripe, I think it's sometimes, not even sometimes, Benny is from this generation that kind of feels like, oh, the more features you have on here, the better it'll be, because it sounds way harder, you know what I mean? And I feel like that kind of mindset fits into a lot of the stuff that he's doing, where he's got like at least one or two features on just about every track, besides Took the Money to the Plug's House, which is his only solo track on here. I just find some of these tracks that just go on for way too long, where he's just pretty much like, yeah, I'll just let the beat play out, because there's not really an end to it. It's not really like, he doesn't treat each beat like it's its own song. He just treats it as like, start that up, we're just gonna rap until we're done, and then we can cut it off wherever we want, and that's the end.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of a different mindset. That was a different, older mindset. Somebody like NWA, or like even myself being like a Wu-Tang fan, I really enjoyed that But I also think that like the Wu-Tang Clan as a whole treated each beat like its own song, and each member didn't overstay their welcome. Like you listen to a lot of their tracks, and sometimes everybody that's featured on there doesn't even have like a full verse. They have like 4 lines, and they'll pass it off to somebody else. Yeah. And that's what I really liked. But like Benny, I feel like it's just like, yeah, hell, everybody have a full fucking 3 verses, and we'll just make the longest song ever, and that's it. It'll be awesome because everybody's on here.
Jadakiss was gonna do 3 verses, but he was gonna die. He's sick.
They just let him go. Then they had to fade him out. Oh, all right, you're done.
Go home, buddy. You're sick. But yeah, keeping in mind that all scores are futile and meaningless right now, I'm feeling at 7. I enjoyed this.
I'm also feeling at 7.
Yeah, and I'm really excited for Benny the Butcher's future, and I hope he puts out more quality content like this, but I hope it's just more condensed.
Yeah, I definitely hope they learn to condense before they do this trio record, because if I'm getting every single track with the West Side, Conway, and Benny feature, as well as any other guest features that they might have on there, like that track's going to be 3 days long.